When your favorite 2005 album gets re-recorded 20 years later, is it nostalgia or betrayal? We're going to look at 3 albums that were re-recorded this year. Anberlin's Never Take Friendship Personal or Never Take, Atreyu's The Curse, and Chiodos' All's Well That Ends Well. All 3 of these records were celebrating the 20-year anniversaries this year. They've all been re-recorded by the bands to different effects.
There's some really good and there's some really bad here, and I think there's a lot of individuals who feel similarly.
And we are also going to throw out some ideas for who should and should not be re-recording their albums for the 20-year anniversary. So why are these bands re-recording their albums? Obviously, it is a 20-year anniversary. 2005 was a huge year for the emo and pop punk scene. Warped Tour in 2005 had its biggest selling year for tickets. That was My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, and a couple of the bands that we're going to talk about on this too. It was very much that pivotal time period for the scene that is now having a major resurgence on TikTok, a major resurgence on the internet. There's a lot of new fans that weren't around for Warped Tour 20 years ago, who were babies, children, and are now finally getting their time to listen to these artists and are probably finally feeling the feelings that these artists are representing with their music. But there are some other reasons why these bands might also be re-recording it. The lineups have changed for, I think, all 3 of these bands. Some of it might have to do with just the nostalgia, but I also think a lot of it has to do with the ownership of the music and maybe a little bit of like updating it for current sounds, current production, current things that we now have in 2025 that we didn't have in 2005. Some examples of that: Anberlin's singer handpicked his replacement to celebrate the anniversary on tour. Stephen Christian left the band last year to focus on time at home. He still is recording with the band, but not going on tour for the Never Take Friendship Personal anniversary tour they did earlier this year.
I'm going to step down away from touring with Anberlin.
We're so stoked to say that Matty Mullins will be Anberlin's touring singer.
For Anberlin, they're in such like a unique situation because we never really see any band that has, especially their vocalists leave, really try to come back and actually still be integrated. It makes it more of a really good positive cosign and an actual message to the audience. We are doing this for you guys and obviously for us personally, but we're not necessarily also doing it for the monetary value. Obviously that comes into play, but that's not their first intention.
Sales were not the first intention for this. Atreyu, according to some quotes from Brandon Saller, wanted to improve on the past and possibly regain the rights to the songs. That's something that we kind of realized because this was originally released on Victory Records, and Victory Records has folded since this album came out. And so it's possible that Atreyu wanted to regain some of the rights to the masters for this re-recording version. I don't know, but that is a possibility with a lot of these re-recordings. It might be for rights, songwriting, performance rights. That's a very likely reason for some of it.
Yeah, we definitely seen that too with like Taylor Swift, Taylor's versions of different recordings. We've also seen some artists try to buy back their catalog. Ownership has become a bigger topic in our music sphere over the last decade. Absolutely. So I could see why some of these things are coming out.
Chiodos, I don't really understand the motives to this one. I think it's a little bit of all of the above, but this band is now only Craig Owens. The rest of the band has completely not been involved. I don't think that is a choice that they had to make, but it does seem as though Craig just kind of went ahead and made this with his new band that he's on tour with. There is no one listed on the production of the record at all. No people listed on it. So I don't really know why this was made, but we'll talk a little bit about how the reception has been and how it sounds. Because I think really what we're trying to answer here is like, when do these re-recordings become less of a tribute and more into like a rewriting of history? When does it become less about the nostalgia, and when does it start to feel like this is an affront to the old fans that have been with you for the last 20 years? So let's get into it. Let's talk about Anberlin's Never Take. So the story behind this is that Stephen Christian, the original singer from Never Take Friendship Personal, said he wasn't going to go on tour and had Matty Mullins step in for him. He was handpicked by Stephen. The rest of the band is the same. The rest of the band is exactly who performed in Never Take. I didn't realize this, but Christian McElhenney, the guitarist, did not play on Never Take Friendship Personal.
Really?
He joined the band after that album came out. So This is now him playing on the record for the first time, actually. So that is also a little bit of a change. Probably not as big. I think with a lot of these bands, the singer is the most important piece of it. And so the big change here was that Stephen Christian didn't sing on it and Matty Mullins did.
And Matty Mullins is kind of like number one Anberlin fanboy, which I do really appreciate, because there are people who would give a negative connotation to that as having, oh, you just picked a big fan to put as a vocalist. It's very like fanfiction.net, but
a very good singer.
no, he is a great
Yeah.
singer. I mean, Memphis Mayfire.
Yeah.
They're also doing a lot of touring as well. This man is booked and busy. But having someone who understands the discography, understands what this band means to not only just himself interpersonally, but for the band and more importantly, the audience, this was a really great pick.
Yeah.
Plus, Stephen Christian isn't fully out. He's still there. His hands are still in the project, not obviously doing everything as he did before, but he still has input. You know, when things are coming out, if they have more new music coming out anytime soon, I'm pretty sure we could see his influence still integrated into it.
Some fans were split on this. Some said it was a fresh perspective. Others say, like, with the newer production on it, that's a little bit more generic and soulless, which is probably something we're going to hear across a lot of these re-recordings, is updating it and modernizing it, but it loses a lot of that, like, youthful spirit, and you know, the budgets are a little bit bigger, and so you get a little bit more of that sheen on it, and it loses a lot of its character from back in that time. I really liked this re-recording. You know, I wasn't a huge fan of the original just from the production standpoint, and for me, a lot of like the lyrical side of it was just very immature. You know, it's a young band, but that's fine. And now, like, pulling it in 20 years in the future and like updating a lot of that production, I understand the songs better as what they are. It feels much catchier to me. Like, I'm really like much more invested in this new re-recording versus the original.
Yeah, you were a big time hater for that.
I was.
Yeah, I can't
learned.
believe you. You did. Brian texted me and he
I had
said,
to say,
"Listen, this is actually really good." I said, "Oh, really?
that's good.
Interesting." Well, I think the other thing that stands out, especially, is Feel Good Drag, which has already had multiple recordings prior.
Yep.
There's 2 versions now. There's 3 versions. And I think Matty Mullins' version, I'm not going to say it's like number one because the original OG one is my favorite version of it.
Yeah.
But the Matty Mullins one, especially the outro, that's sick. That hit. I stopped.
I think that the updated version with Matty Mullins is my preferred version. Atreyu re-recorded The Curse. Now, this one is an interesting one because the original screamer in the band, Alex Varkatzas, left in 2020, which means that this one is recorded by the majority of the band, but with the bassist now doing the screaming vocals. Brandon Saller, the original clean vocalist, is also screaming on this and has now taken like front and center stage, but basically the band is the exact same, just missing the original screamer from the record. I think that this sounds more produced, not necessarily better, but Lizzie, you didn't like the original version.
No, it's one of the worst albums I've ever heard in my life.
How did you feel about this new re-recorded version?
It was listenable. That's the thing. Because as much as I critique modern metalcore, Brandon and the way that this was produced, the vocals sound a lot more in line with what I'm used to hearing right now in modern metalcore. I can listen to it. It's digestible to my ear and to me. And I also think that this is just another way to like reintroduce Atreyu. So I feel like this could be a reminder for fans who maybe stopped listening to Atreyu for one reason or another, and to just like really reintroduce the band to a new audience base, maybe a younger fan base, to get them kind of back and integrated into this metalcore scene.
Now, I will say the reception has not been very positive on this. People have said it's objectively worse in every way, and many do see it as a cash grab. I think from my perspective on the production of it, it does sound as though the drums and the guitars are a little bit quieter, with the vocals like really like in your face about it. I'll also say that I don't think the screamer has the same swagger that Alex had when he did the original version. Swaggy. At the same time, Brandon has been very vocal in the comments and on social media to say, hey, the old version does still exist. You can just go listen to it if you prefer it. This is for us, maybe. This is more of like a thing just for the band to do. Didn't have to exist, but the fact that it exists doesn't take anything away from the original, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, they're going on tour this fall, so it could also just be saying, like, this is what to expect, everyone.
I mean, basically, yeah. This is what it's going to sound like when you go see the 20-year anniversary tour later this year. There are a lot of people who also said this felt like a spiteful thing towards Alex for not being in the band anymore. I really disagree with that. I don't see this re-record as the same way that Steve and Christian picked Matty Mullins to fill in for him. It's obviously not that Alex said, hey, yeah, go ahead and do this. But I also feel like he's not been in the band for 5 years. Like, I don't know these people. I don't know the choices that were made. I don't know any of the opinions they have. But certainly, like, if you're not in the band, you kind of don't get to be involved in those decisions anymore. And I don't necessarily see this as a thing that's a negative towards him as much as it is just a thing that now also exists alongside the original with him on it.
A lot of comments about Curse 2025 have been saying, oh, it's great, it sounds great, love it, but it's just not the same without Alex. Which is funny because that comment is super true. It's precisely one member different. But we all knew that. So did you have to say it? Thanks, though?
With Brandon saying, hey, if you don't want to listen to this version, you can go and listen to the old one. That doesn't really give spiteful, because if there was any type of bad blood or any vindictiveness behind it, he would say, no, you can only listen to this new one, like, fuck the old version. And that's just not happening.
Now, where that kind of is happening is on the third record, Chiodos All's Well That Ends Well 20th Anniversary Edition. I believe that's how it's referred to on streaming platforms. This is just Craig. This
It's
is
Craig
not
Owens' version.
without any of the original band members, who have kind of been vocal on social media about how they were not a part of this. When you look on like the clientele of who worked on this, you kind of only see Craig's name. No one really has the names of the other members who are his touring band right now. Just session musicians, just playing along with him. In that way, this feels very much different than the other two, where it is the majority of the original members, or there is some of a handoff from one member to the next. This very much feels like just somebody doing it as a lazy cash grab. Craig and all of the posts around this from the Chiodos account as well has kind of like a ChatGPT AI caption for it. It doesn't feel like he really gave a lot of effort and authenticity to this. It doesn't feel like he's saying a lot about it. It feels very much just like, we put this out. The tour already happened. Like, this is kind of late too.
I mean, even when we saw them on tour, the merch that was there, it felt very just slapped together and insincere. It's very clear that it is an obvious cash grab.
Yeah.
I would also maybe offer that that's refreshing, because there's a lot of other bands that are coming back now.
You should be grabbing the cash.
And there's a lot of people questioning if it is a cash grab or it isn't, where it's very obvious that Chiodos.
This one's obvious.
This is an obvious one. But maybe that's better for some fans to make their decisions on, I guess, to go forward with it or not.
Definitely in this case, the fans, I don't think they seem very positive on this. I don't know if a lot of people are generally listening to this at all, if they're really like checking it out. This re-recording is very polished. It doesn't have a lot of like moments where it doesn't feel like there's a lot of auto-tune or overproduced type of sound to it. And I think that that's what really is ruining this for like a lot of fans that are listening to it, is that it doesn't have the same chaos from the original version, where it sounds like, you know, these are 6 members of the band that are thrashing around and making this music because they're passionate about it. This kind of just feels like this is what this record would sound like if you just really, really got everything good and perfect and put a lot of vocal processing on Craig Owens' voice.
That in this scene, a lot of the stuff is built out of chaos. So if you were to take that away, it's just generic and sterile.
I think that because Steve and Christian picked Matty Mullins, it does honor the nostalgia of that original recording. Matty wanted to create something that felt to him as a fan like it was good for the fans. In this case, it sounds like it's just taking away all of that original mentality around the creation of it and just doing something that gets you over the line and doesn't really make something interesting with it.
Yeah, I mean, we know for a fact that Chiodos was like, okay, we're probably never going to see this band again. And then all of a sudden, we got that nostalgia wave.
Which
they said,
maybe we shouldn't have the band again. I don't know. Maybe we don't need the band. That's all I'm saying.
Brian did have a good time at the show.
When the songs are playing, it's fine. When the songs aren't playing, I have thoughts. And the songs are currently not playing. So
otherwise,
my thoughts
head
are
empty when it's on.
Yeah. Now that we've gone through all 3 of these albums, I think we've like come down to like what really makes a re-recording a good idea or not,
Yes.
something that a band should do. It must have the original core lineup, maybe not everybody, but at least the majority of it. Or if there is a singer who's being replaced, it has the original singer saying, hey, yes, you have my permission to do this. I'm handing this off to you to do. Or at least like the majority of the band is the original guys who worked on it and originally made the music together. Keep the production authentic. Don't overdo it on the clean, crisp production. These albums were recorded by like teenagers or young kids who like had that hunger and that passion of making this music. And a lot of that gets lost the more that you kind of just like smooth it all out and make it sound like everything else on the radio. It kind of just gets lost in there. And we want to feel like that rawness and that energy from the original band and the original members that did this music in the first place. And the most important thing is going to be the vocalist who's singing. What does that singing sound like? What did the original recording of that vocalist sound like, and what are they doing now? What has been updated? What has been adjusted? And in some cases, like if you as a vocalist are coming in and adding something to the band like Matty Mullins does, make sure it's tasteful. And if you're kind of pulling all of that soul out of it by just glossing over all of it with Craig Owens, like maybe we don't need it. Maybe we don't need it.
Yeah, we don't always need to be able to have the accessibility, I feel, for some bands to have the best production possible.
There's some authenticity in more raw vocals and more raw production. Now, with those three things in mind, what are some bands that should definitely re-record an album or definitely not re-record an album? One example, Taking Back Sunday. Now, that band has mostly reformed with new members.
Yeah.
Now there are a lot of the originals. Adam is in it. John Nolan is still in it. Now they're on tour with Fred Mascherino. I think that the majority of that band is, as far as the vocalists and guitarists are still there. Would there be a reason they should re-record Tell All Your Friends?
There's no reason. I
There's
don't
no
think
reason.
the people are not asking. There is a remastered version of this. I'm pretty sure that's the one I have on vinyl. And it sounds how it needs to sound. I don't think we need to touch it. I don't think we need to really touch majority of Taking Back Sunday's discography for re-recording.
I also don't feel confident in Adam Lazzara singing it. And while it might be better in the studio, who's to say?
Is it going to come out sounding like maybe that auto-tune everyone's going to say like, hey, I feel like it would just be too much backlash and negative criticism. It's just too much of a headache for them for what it's worth.
What about Fall Out Boy?
10-10 across the board, no problem.
Even Take This to Your Grave, I see that as still sounding just as good today as it did when it was released. I don't even see a need for a remaster of this or any touching to it. Now, Fall Out Boy is all the same original members, so if they did it, it would be just an updated version of it. But I do feel like there's no real value in creating that with those original members. It's just going to come out sounding basically exactly the same, and we have it already.
So we have Fall Out Boy at home, and we don't need to
Fall Out Boy at home is Fall Out Boy.
We don't need to remake it. We don't need to reorder it. I would say maybe Evening Out with Your Girlfriend, but then I would say if they did re-record it, obvious cash grab.
Yeah. Panic at the Disco would be an interesting one because it is just Brendan Urie. The rest of the band that originally recorded some of the first two albums is now gone from the band. I don't think Fever You Can't Sweat Out should ever be re-recorded. I think it sounds just as good today as it did when it was released. There's no need for a remaster. It is a good album. He is playing it at When We Were Young Fest with, I believe, the band he's been on tour with for this entire time.
Yeah.
So there's no real need to like revisit this album. Just play it as it is. I also feel as though the internet would be very upset if Ryan Ross was not involved. So there's no reason to have this exist without Ryan Ross on it.
I think the only thing would we want anything post Ryan Ross re-recorded in a perfect world where Ryan Ross came back to the band?
No. If Ryan Ross comes back to the band, I want the Lost album that happened around Pretty Odd, and I want Pretty Odd 2. Don't do anything without Ryan Ross if you want the fans to not be all over
I mean,
the
it's
internet.
already a fan contentious relationship right now with them playing When We Were Young.
Fever You Can't Sweat Out is going to be amazing. That's all that I have to say. One interesting one that I thought of was Escape the Fates, Dying Is Your Latest Fashion. Ronnie Radke was the vocalist on that album, left the band after that, and Craig Mabbitt has been the singer of Escape the Fate ever since. Would there be a reason that is the 20-year anniversary of that album this year. Would there ever be a reason for Craig Mabbitt to re-record the vocals for that album? Now, most of the rest of the band is gone. There's only one original member from that album still in the band. I don't think that would be like overall a good idea, if just because it's a Ronnie Radke thing and everybody would be
I think
up in arms.
I think the fans would be not for it.
I don't see it happening, but I did think it was interesting because that record was pretty big in 2005 and obviously blew that band up pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't see it happening. Last one on here, Pierce the Veil. Now, Chemical Kids and Mechanical Brides did come out pretty early in their career. I do think it might benefit from a remaster because most of Pierce the Veil's albums do sound very good.
Yeah.
Even that one does sound great, but I do think it could benefit from some updated production benefits. But overall, I don't see any reason that Pierce the Veil would need to re-record anything.
I think the only thing that I would maybe want to see is because this is like the only primarily Mexican Hispanic band that has been in the scene for this long and is this big. I would want to potentially see them re-record literally any albums in Spanish.
That would be pretty cool. And obviously, yes, being that representation for a large amount of the fans of this genre of music, that would at least be one interesting way of doing a re-recording that wouldn't just feel like a cash grab. It is most of the original members that are still in the band, so I do feel like there's a lot of value to that of it. And I definitely don't feel, it might kind of be a cash grab, but also it might be pretty neat.
I think it would also be a good homage to say, like, yes, we're tying our heritage and our culture to this scene and really firmly planting ourselves as these kind of like leaders right now.
Those are some ideas that we had for bands that should or should absolutely not re-record their albums. Are there any other bands that you think should or should absolutely not re-record their albums? What did you think of these 3 re-recordings? Let us know. Please hit the subscribe button, hit a like if you liked this video. And if you want to watch our original reviews of the original recordings of these, they're right here.